Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Three Things About the Browns. I'm Stephanie Haney here one more time with our voice of the Browns and our 3 News sports director, Jim Donovan. Jim, thanks for being here on a Victory Monday.
Yes, sirree. I mean, it was a win. It was really like an exhibition game. Certainly played that way like the Bengals, but you know what? When you're not going to the playoffs, Stephanie, you take anything you can get. So we'll take 8 and 9. We won't like it, but we'll take it.
That's right. We'll take it. Better than some people would say. Some people might not say better than 7 and 10, but we'll leave that discussion for another day. But what we will talk about is Case Keenum did have a solid performance against the Bengals yesterday, winning that game 21-16. So my question for you now is, if Case Keenum starts for the Browns after week 2 when Baker Mayfield has that torn labrum injury, are we in the playoffs right now?
Boy, that's a good question. I know that Kevin Stefanski thinks really highly of Case Keenum. They had some good time together in Minnesota. Of course, Case Keenum was the quarterback when the Vikings went all the way to the NFC Championship game before losing to the Philadelphia Eagles. And that was a big reason why Kevin brought him along to Cleveland when Kevin became the head coach. So I know he has supreme confidence in him. When he goes in there, I think he certainly played well in the Thursday night game. I didn't think great yesterday. He turned the ball over he turned the ball over twice and had a rough pass on the goal line, to Donovan Peoples-Jones on 4th and goal from the 2. Over the long haul, I don't know, Stephanie, that's great debate. I think that he might have settled some things down. He really runs the offense right to script. He runs it very well. I think people get involved in the offense a little bit more. He spreads the ball out. So that might have been effective for them. It's an interesting thing to think about. He's a veteran. He knows how to play in big games, and they were in big games and close games. I think he should have gotten a few more starts. I don't know how many. And I think that really there was a point where probably the injuries were so mounting up on Mayfield that really Keenum would have been a better alternative.
Sure, yeah, especially as that season went on and kept getting more and more banged up. I know Baker even told us at one point it's the most banged up he's been at all in his career. So would have been interesting to see. Of course, there is only so much Monday morning quarterbacking we can do after the season is over. But that brings me to my next question for you about head coach Kevin Stefanski. Last year he was coach of the year. Right. This year, a losing season, 8 and 9 with the final record. What kind of adjustments do we need to see from Kevin Stefanski for next season?
Well, in the kind of we call it on a Monday when a season comes to an end on a Sunday, kind of locker room cleanout day. Now, we don't get to be in that locker room anymore because of the COVID world that we're living in. But today was the day where the Browns players kind of have their exit interviews with their head coach and their position coaches, and they go off into the offseason. But in some of their comments today, it was really interesting, Stephanie, that there were terms that were being talked about that we hadn't heard during the season. And this came from players. Lack of focus, lack of continuity, lack of execution out on the field. And to me, that seems to be a lack of chemistry. Those are problem areas inside of a locker room, that things are going on, that it's just not meshing with a football team. Now, the Browns brought a ton of new players in for this season, specifically on the defensive side. I don't know if the issue was there were so many new players that the rest of the team felt that there was an offense and there was a defense, but never the two should meet. I don't know if the constant chatter about Mayfield and whether he should be playing and how he's playing in these games, if that was a distraction. I don't know if the OBJ factor was a big factor because, Stephanie, he was an extremely popular player inside that locker room. And there were a lot of guys, and I mean a lot of guys on that roster that were upset that he left and the way he left and why he was allowed to leave. And that bothered them a great deal. When you throw that all into the salad doesn't taste very good. And there probably were some problems. And I think that's issue number one for Kevin Stefanski. I would listen to those players and say, all right, I got to really have a kumbaya meeting with this team, and we have to come together a little bit more. That wasn't a problem last year, made easier by the fact that they won. Number two, football-wise, and in his area of expertise, he's got to perk up that offense. I mean, that is his baby, okay? And he wants to call plays. I get it because he's the head coach. But that offense became boring, and it just became really bad as the season went along. And they just didn't score points and enough points in games. And they're going to have to get better, specifically in the passing game, if they're going to be able to turn this thing around.
All right. Well, to your point about the continuity and the players coming and going, it is the off season. So there's always a lot of talk about who will stay, who will go, what will we do in the draft. Lots of talk, though, about people entering free agency and also some salary cap issues. So in your opinion, is there anyone who would be a major mistake for the Browns to let go of at this point?
Well, okay, I'll give you a couple. I think the ball will be in Jadeveon Clowney's hands because he had a very good year and had a great ending to the year. And Stephanie, when they were in big games, he played big. I thought he was very, very good. So the signing of Jadeveon Clowney in the offseason and bringing him here to team him up with Myles Garrett, I think it worked. Now, Garrett came out last Friday and met with the media and said he thinks that they should sign Clowney tomorrow, okay, because he feels he's that important to that defense. But you have to look at Clowney's career, and especially of late. He's kind of a one-hit wonder with teams. He goes in, he makes money, he plays for 1 year, and then he goes to the highest bidder. So I think off of his year this year, the Browns are going to definitely make him an offer, but I don't know if it's going to be enough. But I think it would be more in his decision than their decision, because I think he had that good a year. And I think other teams are going to take a look at him and say, hey, he was finally healthy. He pretty much played the whole year. And that's what you get. You get a really good player that plays both, can get to the quarterback and can play the run. So Clowney would be issue number one, but I think it will be his decision. Jarvis Landry will be interesting to watch, okay? Because he has another year left to go on his deal, but he's making a ton of money. He did not look that happy, especially post Odell Beckham Jr. That's his best friend. He left the team, and it seemed like it bothered him. Landry never spoke to the media again, basically, after OBJ departed, and I wonder how happy he is. And I think he might, Stephanie, see his career getting injured here in Cleveland rather than flourishing, and him getting the opportunity to play in really big games. And I mean, second round playoff games, conference championship game, and then the big one, the Super Bowl. And I think that troubles him a little bit. What troubles them is, can they afford him at close to $16 million for a guy that had maybe a little bit over 50 catches this season? Not all his problem because of the offense and the quarterback, but that's an issue to take a look at. The other one is, I don't know that they're going to be able to hold on to Dearness Johnson because they have Chubb, they have Hunt, and because they had to play Johnson so much this year, the NFL took a look at him and said, wow, this guy should be a starting running back, never mind a number 3 running back on that particular team. Now, he's a restricted free agent. They can give him an offer, and they can tender him and try and get a draft pick back if somebody matches it or betters that offer. But I think there are going to be suitors coming after Dearness Johnson at running back. That's how well he played.
Well, a lot to think about there. But one thing that we do know will definitely be different next year for those Cleveland Browns games is your partner, Doug Deacon, no longer going to be calling those games with you. He's been your partner for quite some time in the broadcast booth. How was that like for you, calling that last game with him during the game and when the clock ran out?
Well, I have to tell you, it was not a day I look forward to because we are so close. We've been together for 23 years in the broadcast booth, and it's just been a great ride with him. And it was a really emotional day. But I want to congratulate the Browns for really making the day very special to him. His family was there. His friends were there. His former teammates were there. I mean, there was a steady procession of dignitaries coming into the broadcast booth to wish him well and congratulate him on overall, Stephanie, 51 years with the Browns organization. And I really want to thank the fans, thousands of them coming up near the broadcast booth and waving to Doug. And I know that means the world to him because that was his link. That was his popularity meter is how he was with fans. And he was real with them and they loved him and respected him for that. So as the clock wound down, it was hard to imagine next year when we start up again that he won't be sitting in that chair on my right. But for 23 years, it was an absolute joy to be with him.
Well, maybe he'll come and wave by the broadcast booth when he's there for a home game or two. You never know, right?
Well, he really does. Now, I'm thinking he doesn't have to do that because we named the booth after him. So he can come in anytime. I think he's got squatters' rights on that.
There you go. Absolutely. Jim, thank you so much for your time this season talking Browns. We had the ups, we had the downs. It was definitely an interesting season, and I appreciate your time.
Thanks, Stephanie.
All right, that's it for 3 things about the Browns. That's a wrap on this season. Check out WKYC.com for more coverage, and we'll see you back next season.